Welcome to the exciting and new podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Ant.
Leave it in. Leave that in. Leave that in.
I'm Andy.
Come on, Brian.
I wasn't talking for like 30 seconds. So
You looked at your phone and you just lost all focus.
That's the first time it's ever happened.
Oh, wow.
I mean, at that point, at the introduction point. Usually I'm ready. I do the not this time.
Why don't you start us off by talking about what we watched this week?
We're watching the 1983 teen drama,
October
coming of age,
8th, 1983, yeah.
Rumblefish, directed by the great Francis Ford Coppola. We've discussed Francis Ford Coppola recently because we just did Apocalypse Now within the last month. So this is him again. This is 10 years later, and he's done stuff in between, but I think, right? I mean, he had to have done something in between Apocalypse Now and Rumblefish, right?
Yeah.
77 to 83. He must have done. I don't know what he did in between.
Outsiders.
Oh, yeah. Outsiders.
Wait a second. He did Outsiders and this.
He did them like back to back.
What?
That's why half this cast is like Outsiders people, because he was doing the Outsiders. It's like, I got this other thing I'm doing. C.S. Hinton also. Let's just like Matt, Diane. Let's go. Let's do another movie.
S.E. Hinton.
Did I not say S.E. Hinton? Did I say something else?
Wasn't she a hooker?
I think you said C.S. or
Oh,
something
you know
like
what?
that.
Maybe I was thinking of like C.S. Lewis or something like that.
Elliot.
C.S. Eliot?
This was an hour and 34 minutes, rated R. Why was it rated R? There was some nudity in this, right?
There was
The
like
orgy.
a couple boobs there. There was a lot of F-bombs, I guess,
of
especially when Diane
F-bombs,
Lane was coming
yeah.
home from the bus.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Rusty James. Fuck you, you
Yeah,
asshole. Can we just get into the fact that, like, was there any consistency in accents across this Oklahoma movie?
No, I don't
Because
think so.
You got a bunch of New York accents. You got Matt Dillon. You got Nicolas Cage, both doing their best terrible acting that they could do.
went to California.
You got.
I went to
Mickey
California.
Mickey Rourke's kind of got like maybe like a Southern California accent going. Diane Lane is doing her Midwest-ish accent, but they're all supposed to be born and bred in. I assume this is Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think it was filmed in Tulsa. I know S.E. is from Oklahoma. Both this and The Outsiders.
C.S.
Wait a minute.
The hooker?
Oh, see,
It's S.E.
I was like, wait, what did it say? Yeah, she was the hooker in this, but she was from Oklahoma. Those books take place in Oklahoma, but Matt Dillon did not sound like he was from Oklahoma, nor did Nicolas Cage.
Matt Dillon was all New York, man. That was all New York.
Yeah. Was that where Outsiders from?
Yes. Matt Dillon and Matt Dillon, especially obviously because he was the star of this, but Nicolas Cage and Matt Dillon were putting on a I don't know how to act clinic in this. Like when they were fighting, especially towards the end after
Yeah, you're like, are they fighting?
When
You're
Smokey
like,
hooks up with Diane, what was Diane, Patty, right? Patty. When he hooks up with Patty and they're fighting.
Domino's sister.
They're fighting. When they're fighting, and I'm like, these guys, like Francis Ford Coppola, amazing director. Is he not cut? Do it again. Can you guys act? Can Matt Dillon not just be talking like this all the time, man? Like that's his inflection the entire movie.
He even got mad. He got mad at that hooker, or not, she was the heroin girl.
Oh, yeah,
She's coming down the stairs, and he's like, he got mad at her. And he's like, I don't like substitute teachers living in my building, man.
And you know what's funny?
Like,
because
what?
looking back on Matt Dillon's career, that's the exact same. I mean, Matt Dillon's one of those guys that has played Matt Dillon his entire life. He has never acted one day in his life.
Matt Dillon is the AC/DC of acting.
But you know what? When I hear AC/DC over and over again, I'm like, I like this. I like what they got going on. Matt Dillon, it's like, dude, do something.
My
different,
Bodyguard,
please.
come on.
And he played this exact character in My Bodyguard. This is
He's a bad boy.
He's
tough
playing
guy, yeah.
Dally from Outsiders in this movie. I don't know why they're calling him Rusty James, because half the time I'm like, this is Dally. It's the same exact character.
Rusty James, Russell James once, right?
One time. Rusty James 65 times.
So we're not going to talk about Frank.
Oh yeah, the cast. Sorry.
No, Frank Coppola. We're not going to talk about
when
him.
you said Frank, I understood you were talking about.
IMDb description was absent-minded street thug Rusty James struggles to live up to his legendary older brother's reputation and longs for the days of gang warfare. He loved gangs. Rusty James is the leader of a small dying gang in an industrial town. He lives in the shadow of the memory of his absent older brother, the motorcycle boy. His mother has left. His father drinks. School has no meaning for him, and his relationships are shallow. He is drawn into one more gang fight, and the events that follow begin to change his life.
This movie is so similar to The Outsiders in the sense that, like, you got the motorcycle boy. You never actually learn his real name, but you don't know who Soda Pop or 2-Bit or who am I blanking in Outsiders? It has another nickname, but
Johnny.
Johnny and Dally. But I guess that was her writing style. That was the way she did
right.
nicknames. And
she wrote Outsiders too?
didn't I just fucking say she
Yes,
wrote both these books? They both take place in Oklahoma.
Wasn't that
Were you
the
not
whole C.S.
listening?
Lewis joke? Everything was all there. It was all together.
Yes.
We lost this guy. We lost him this week.
She wrote both.
He left his phone in the other room, and ever since then,
She wrote both. Francis Ford Coppola directed both. She was in both movies.
Damn.
And I think she wrote the screenplay on both also.
and we
or
saw
helped write the
both of
screenplays.
Diane Lane's breasts.
Yeah.
Not just one of them. You saw both of them.
Did we only see one in Outsiders? Is that why you're saying it like that? Or
No, because you kept saying you saw two of this.
Diane Lane's in Outsiders too?
dude, she's Cherry, dude. She's the female in
Well,
that movie.
I never saw Outsiders.
Wow.
Whoa.
You're that guy, huh?
Tell that one to Dan. Wait till Dan hears that one. We're gonna get one. We're gonna hear one. That's Dan's gonna have.
We're doing
few
Outsiders in like a week. Logan, who has never been on a podcast, is dying to get on the
I
Outsiders.
can't wait
podcast.
because he loves to talk. So he's gonna have a lot to say about this movie. So I think it's gonna be fun.
He likes to talk. He's got a lot of his father in him.
He's got too much of his father in him, Owen.
Oh, sorry. Wrong movie. We'll get to that later.
Matt Dillon plays Rusty/Russell James.
Rusty James?
All right. Fuck you too. Fuck you. What the fuck did I do? I didn't do nothing.
That is a authentic Oklahoma accent right there. And I've only driven through Oklahoma. I haven't spent time with the people of the Sooner State, but when I think of Oklahoma, that's exactly how I think they're talking.
I
Just like
bet
that.
on them a lot in college football. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know if we're big in Oklahoma or not, but please, if we are, call me up personally on my cell. I'll give you my number. And
His number. Oh wait,
I want to hear them saying
we
like,
probably could give it out here.
"What are you doing there, man?"
Everybody who listens probably has your number already.
They probably do. They probably do. I'm a contact in their
This
phone.
is our first time having Matt Dillon on the podcast,
I
though, right?
believe
It's our
so,
first
yeah.
Matt Dillon movie.
So what else besides Outsiders and Rumblefish are in his top four? Is
Neither of those are in his top four.
neither of those are in his top four.
Nope.
Is Wayward Pines in his top four?
No, it is not.
That was a good show.
Something about Mary.
Something about Mary. There's something about Mary. Yes.
Just saw that the other day, man. That movie still stands up, man. That is a classic.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh, it's so funny, man. And Matt Dillon, playing Matt Dillon in that, by the way. Pat Healy, but Matt Dillon. He is so
sounding
funny in
exactly like Rusty James.
That's true.
All right. Fuck you too. Fuck you. What the fuck did I do? I didn't do
that.
nothing.
I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing, man. He ended every sentence with man. There was like 600 mans in this.
There should be a we need to
I
find a
looked.
tally.
I was looking because
yeah.
Michelle said everybody said Rusty James 65 times because it's such a long name, and I never say to you like Jason, what are we doing, Jay? Brian, what it's just everybody's Rusty James. What are we doing? Blah, blah. Rusty James, you coming to the fight? Rusty James, you coming over tonight? Rusty James. I'm like, who keeps saying this name over and over and over again? It was actually by the third time it was very annoying, and by the 50th time I was numb to it. I was like, oh my god, Rusty James, Rusty James, Rusty James.
So what do you got after there, Mary? Anything?
Oh man, I should know more Matt Dillon. I'm drawing a blank on him.
All right, so want me to start giving them to you?
Yeah, okay.
Crash.
Good movie. I think that won like
Best Picture.
Best Picture, yeah. And he was a cop in that.
The
That was-
house that
was
Jack built.
I don't know that. I mean,
Drugstore Cowboy.
Drugstore Cowboy. Good movie. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of them.
Crash was
Drugstore Cowboy is really good. You would like that
Crash
one.
had a very ensemble. I think Brendan Fraser was in that.
Yeah,
and
there was a lot of people in
Ludacris,
that,
and it was like an LA story, like 15 different stories.
How all these
happen in
people
LA,
intertwined.
and they all all their stories are overlapping, like a racist cop and a black woman and like all that. That it was very LA of the 90s and probably of the 2020s.
Up next was Mickey Rourke playing the motorcycle boy.
Yeah, California's like a beautiful wild girl on heroin. Whose eye is it, Kite? thinking she's on top of the world, not knowing she's dying even if you show her the marks.
Love that. Love it. Love it.
That was Mickey Rourke's entire inflection, the entire movie. He never raised his voice one time. Even when he was getting shot to
How old
death.
do you think Mickey Rourke was in this movie?
Oh, in this movie, 83, Mickey Rourke's probably like 10 years older than me. I'm going to say he was 23.
25.
He was 31.
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
He's that old. Wow.
31, yeah.
I didn't know he was that much older than me.
Yeah.
It was funny
He
because
was born in 52.
as soon as he appeared on the screen, Michelle and I looked at each other. We're like, oh, look at young, cute Mickey Rourke, because we know him so much now as the punch drunk, like wrestler face, just that plastic surgery,
Big lips
paste
and stuff
you know,
like-
he boxed for a while and fucked his face
Yeah.
up. But man, like he was a good looking
He
guy
was, he
back
was,
then.
he
man.
was
It's
like a main, he was the main guy, the leading guy in a lot of movies.
yeah.
A few years later, he had 9.5 weeks.
9.5 weeks, and that was a sexy movie. Oh, Angel Heart.
Angel
Great.
Heart,
Oh,
yeah.
man, I love Angel Heart.
Speaking of his top four, you want to try any of those?
Or any of the things I've mentioned already.
know.
Nothing I've mentioned. How about The Wrestler? No, it's not
The
even-
Wrestler is,
Okay.
yes. Which was a good movie. I like
Very
that
good movie. Marissa Tomei boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I
yeah.
have to watch
The
it now.
Wrestler. Yeah.
Naked Aunt May. Or topless Aunt May, at least.
You're shouting out a lot of stuff that you haven't seen. That's good.
Yeah, we mentioned a lot of stuff I haven't
But
seen.
not. So
I didn't
not
know.
ro-
I didn't know Outsiders was on your list of movies you never seen.
No.
That's really weird, man, because that was like The Outside, and I don't want to jump ahead 2 weeks to when we did The Outsiders, but like that was required reading when we were
Yep.
in high school. Everybody
Same here.
read The
Yeah, you
Outsiders.
didn't
and
read it?
I
A
didn't
lot of
read it.
people cheated and just watched the movie
We
because the
did-
movie is just.
Well,
like
our
the
teacher
book.
was cool. We read the book, we had the test, and then we got to watch the movie in class.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. That's like listen. There's movies I've missed from the '80s too, but that's a weird one to have missed because that seems to be like a
Christine quotes, like, is there a pony boy?
Pony
Yeah.
Boy is the main
Yeah.
character. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
C. Tom
quotes.
Howell, or as Michelle calls him, Tom Howell. She's
Tom
so
Howell,
down.
yeah, she
she's
knows
so
him
down
well,
with him.
yeah.
She's like, it's Tom Howell. I'm like, oh, sorry.
So,
Is he from
Not C.
Hightstown?
Thomas.
so Logan's definitely going to come on for that one then?
Yeah, he's very excited to do it.
Okay, good.
I said we'll watch it together and then talk about it. He's like, I don't need to watch it again. I'm like, it helps to rewatch
does.
before
It
you
makes-
podcast. It makes it fresh in your mind.
Gives you a couple of things to maybe I wouldn't have talked about that. I wouldn't have remembered that.
I thought I had seen Rumblefish, but I guess I just saw the fish that were in color because I did not recognize anything from this movie.
You know what's funny? I saw this movie in the theater and I forgot it was black and white. Like 2 minutes in this movie, I'm like,
You saw it in the theater, really?
yeah. I was like,
Who
is there a
took you?
time where this like changes over to color? Because I was like, I don't remember this being black and white. And then, I mean, there's spots. It's like Schindler's List with
Who
color.
took you
like-
to see this one?
So I was like 13. I think I
Yeah.
just went. I think we went like
got
and
in?
snuck in.
It's
or
rated
something.
R, that's what
It
I'm
is,
saying.
Yeah. Which is weird, but we snuck in every once. Quaker Ridge Mall had that thing where you bought your tickets at the front, and then there were 4 theaters back there, but you bought your ticket and you just walked in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You had access
I
to
know what
those
you're
4
talking
theaters.
about.
So
Yes.
like
Yeah.
we would just like go into other, buy a ticket for like 101 Dalmatians and sneak into like Debbie Does Dallas and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They never had Debbie Does Dallas there.
Speaking of Debbie Does Dallas, did anybody see the sign?
What's that?
No, I
In the
did
movie,
not.
in the movie marquee, they were in this movie. He's walking down the street, and on the marquee, Debbie Does Dallas.
Damn, I missed that, and I'm really
Wow.
sad that I missed that because
I was gonna take a picture
There
to
are
send to you
scenes in
guys,
this,
and
like-
I didn't. I was like, and it's in my notes. I have it in my notes.
Just so you know, I have seen Debbie Does Dallas.
yeah, no one's shocked by that. You've probably seen Debbie's Done Them All, like all her movies, because I think there was a Debbie Does Them All or something like
And I
that.
got it in here.
You know that one?
There's been a couple.
Yeah. Well, it was a hit. You got to make a sequel to it.
That's right.
Yeah, Debbie Does Dallas on the movie marquee.
Wow.
There you go.
That's funny. I didn't-
Oklahoma's hip.
Yeah,
So-
so they made that street look like he was walking down New York City. If you ask me,
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
That didn't look like. Is that downtown Oklahoma? I guess.
Well, it was supposed to be Tulsa, I guess, but like that's one of my major questions. Based on, I know we're doing the cast still, but like my general
Oh, yeah, we're on Mickey Rourke's top 4. I'm sorry.
theme and vibe of this movie was, when's this movie take place? Because it's obviously filmed in 1981 or 2, whenever they're filming it, and it's in black and white.
The cars are all from the 80s.
The book takes place in the 60s.
But the gangs was just like kind of ending, right?
And it felt like West Side Story. It felt like it was coming out of the 50s.
I want to say
into
70s.
The 60s.
That was me.
Matt Dillon had an earring. I was
Late
like,
70s,
guys did not have earrings before before like MTV
70s,
made
late
it cool.
70s, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It felt weird because he was playing a video game at one point, and you heard Pac-Man music in the background.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely, I would say 80s cars.
it felt one of those like
de-age the
kind of like
cars.
anachronistic
80s
kind of
then?
movies
Think
where it was
80s,
like
yeah.
they wanted to make it of a time, but no time.
Yeah.
But there were things that obviously set in the 80s, the Pac-Man music, the cars, his motorcycle, stuff that were just, he wasn't driving a 50s motorcycle. He was driving like a late 70s motorcycle, but
Yeah, right.
it just felt weird. It felt like the way they were dressed sometimes.
I want you to take the bike. Drive to the shore.
A lot of my questions about this movie was like, when is this supposed to be
straight to
taking
the
place? Matt Dillon having an earring really threw me off because I was like,
I would say 1980.
okay.
End of the 70s.
Then why is it
beginning
in
of the
black and
80s.
white?
Because Mickey Rourke couldn't see.
I mean, I guess that's why at the end he's colorblind,
Yeah.
but
And
he's not the star
not
of the
just
movie.
colorblind. He saw everything in black
Yeah,
and
well,
white.
it should have. It was
Well,
more.
yeah,
Wasn't
I know
it?
it's funny how people think colorblind is black and white. It's not
But
black
didn't
and
we
white.
see the
but
movie? We're supposed to see the movie more through Rusty James'
Yeah, it's his
perspective.
story. It's
so
his-
it shouldn't be black and white.
It maybe like if they wanted to make it talking about Mickey Rourke's colorblindness when he's on the screen, it goes to black and white. Like there's movies that shift between color,
exactly.
black
That
and
would have
white.
been. That would have been.
kind
I
of
think that would have
thing.
been interesting.
I don't know. I was really confused by why this was black and white. And like I said, I forgot it was in black and white.
All right, so you only got the wrestler so far. Although you said Angel Heart. You said Angel Heart, so I'll give you that. Yeah.
This is Mooseport.
No, did not make it.
Was him boxing anybody making the top 4 for him? Because
No.
none of his fights made it a pay-per-view or something like that. Should I know these?
Yeah,
Damn.
I'm gonna give them to you.
Yeah, please. Just give them to us.
Sin City and Iron Man 2.
Wow.
Oh, fuck yeah, that's right. He's Iron Man 2. I forgot about that. And he's Marv in Sin City. Yeah. Great movies. But, well, no. Iron Man 2
Black and white.
Iron Man 2 is a piece of shit. But Sin City is actually a great
Black and
movie.
white.
And it's black and white. And not because he's colorblind, but just because they...
No, it's because it's through the perspective of Rusty James.
Who got hit in the head. And
They drew the comic in black and white. Yeah, Sin City. The first Sin City movie is so good.
I like it.
So good. Did you see that, Brian? Sin
I
City?
did.
Okay.
I thought he was going to say.
And then
no.
the sequel
I thought you
was
were gonna
terrible,
say
except for the fact I'm
that.
sure
I never
you
saw.
loved
I did not see
I never
the
saw the
sequel.
Oh,
sequel.
really? Because
Yeah.
what's her face is naked throughout that movie.
I will see it then.
Who's that?
I will watch it.
I want to say her name's Eva Green. She was in Casino Royale, the first.
Penny Dreadful too.
Yes, that girl. Yep.
No, he looks like he's definitely watching that.
She's naked.
This is why we can't get him to watch the movies we watch.
Sorry, I mean she's not naked, but yeah, I didn't like the second Sin City, but that first one was
I liked it,
outstanding.
yeah.
Outstanding. I forgot he was in that. Yeah, he's
Bruce
Marv.
Willis.
Bruce Willis, Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
Diane Lane played Patty. I thought she looked really good in this.
She looked very good in this.
It's funny. She looked better in this, I thought, than she looked in Outsiders. But she's basically the same age, and it's weird that black and white she would look. She looked younger, I guess, for some reason. I
Wait,
don't
she's
know.
in Outsiders?
Damn, come on. You already fucking said her character
I was about to
name.
punch him. I seriously, my fist went like this.
Down goes Brian. Down goes Brian. Down goes Brian. Oh, man.
I was like, no way, man.
I'm scared to do her top 4.
I don't even know if I can
I'll just
come
give
up
it
with
to
her.
you.
No. Can I guess one thing?
Yeah,
Can I guess like
but I can't let you guess Outsiders because that's in there.
is Rumblefish?
Rumblefish is not.
But is like something along the lines of Batman,
One of them's,
Superman,
one of
Dawn
them's
of
animated.
Justice?
No.
Oh, okay. Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice is not in her top 4.
No.
Good for her. I'm so glad. She's Ma Kent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to give
saw
them to
that?
you though. Unfaithful,
Don't know that.
Under the Tuscan Sun,
I've heard of it.
and the animated was Inside Out.
Oh, she's in that? Oh, who's
I
she in
guess
that?
I don't know. Just I wrote
What
it
if
down.
she's like the mom?
Yeah.
Riley's mom or something like that.
Who played father
Inside
in this movie?
Out, great movie, by the way. Inside Out, one of Pixar's last great movies. Is father the Dennis Hopper character? Is that all
That's
he was
always
titled
listed
as?
as father. Yes. Or Mr. Jane?
Mr. Rusty James. Yeah, we don't know. Or Mr. Boy. Is your last name Motorcycle? Is Motorcycle Boy or Rusty James?
Mr. Boy?
And he's the only one that calls Rusty James Russell James.
Once, right? And he only
Great
did it
name,
once,
by the
yeah.
way. Russell James is a great movie. Great movie. Fuck. Great name. But Rusty James is the worst nickname
This one,
that you
this
can
one
come
make
up
sure
with
you
that.
put in the description somehow. This one's full of Andy's errors. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I took a nap late in the day. It's fucking my head up.
He's all screwed up. He's excited for Travis Kelce or
Rusty
something tonight.
Rusty James is the worst name you could come up with for the full name Russell James. RJ, great name. Russ.
Rusty.
You know,
Rusty.
even Rusty or Rusty.
How about
Rusty.
Rusty?
Rusty. You have a thing on your hat.
We just talked about his top four, so I'll just run over that real quick. Was Easy Rider, Blue Velvet, Speed, and Waterworld.
Why did we talk about him? Oh, Apocalypse Now, right?
Yeah. Playing Cassandra, that was the girl that was going down the steps.
The hooker, the girl from I know.
Diana Scarwood was her name.
I know one movie.
Mommy
Yeah.
Dearest is
Mommy
all I knew.
Dearest,
Like as soon as I saw her, I was like,
I knew that right away,
As soon as
too,
I saw her,
yep.
I'm like, that's the daughter. That's the story of Mommy Dearest right there. Michelle was like, what's that? I'm like, come on.
She never saw Mommy Dearest?
She knew of it. I don't think she ever saw the movie.
I love
that
That's a great movie.
too, yeah.
And that's like one of those movies that like everybody seems to love and like the critics hate. I bet the critical score on that's like a 20 and the audience scores a 90.
Probably. I wonder
it's,
if
it's one of those weird movies.
Imagine if we had somebody to look that up.
It was I remember my mom every time
I
that movie
guess
came,
I could.
every time that movie came on TV, my mom's like, oh, Mommy Dearest, let's watch it. I'm like, okay. And I watched it with my mom probably like 3 times. And
I watched that movie a bunch of times as a kid.
On HBO, right?
Yeah.
And I'm drawing a blank on who the mom is. The mom
But her
is-
others were What Lies Beneath, Silkwood, and Pretty Baby.
I've never seen Pretty Baby, but I've seen the other 2, and now I'm kind of trying to think what she was in each one of those, but it doesn't matter. I haven't seen either of those movies.
While he looks that up, Vince Spano played Steve. And Steve was a good guy. He was like almost like he was Rusty James.
He was the conscience.
The good kid from like he wanted Rusty James to like not be the bad boy.
He was the pony boy, or the Johnny. He was the Johnny.
Doofy
Johnny. Michelle kept saying, I love him. I remember him from growing up. Like I thought he was so cute and stuff like that. And then she kept saying, looking at his IMDb to find out what else he was in, and she never came up with it. I don't know what he's from. She's
No,
like,
the only other thing that I know that he was in was Alive. The movie about the
airplane
plane
movie.
crash.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
And then Baby It's You and Creator. And it's not the creator with a K, so he wasn't in the band. I guess we'll go into the next guy as he's still looking.
Dude, it's impossible to find. Oh, it's Mommy with an IE.
I don't even
talk
remember
about fucking Mommy Dearest.
I don't even
Remember you
remember.
told me to look it up.
I don't
did
even
I
know
ask
what
you
we're
to
talking.
look
What's the question?
Oh, I don't even remember what I'm supposed to
I don't
look
even
up.
remember what I asked you to look up.
I
now.
went to IMDb.
I don't remember what the question was.
Oh, Rotten Tomatoes, I'm supposed to go.
Oh yeah.
That's right, the score. Yeah, that's not hard to find because if you fucking type in "Mommy Dearest Rotten Tomatoes," you hit it. It
I
comes right
typed
to that
in Mommy
page.
MOMMY.
It just still
and
put up.
It didn't
just
come
still
up.
put up. It's just like, what are you using?
He was,
Bing?
he was probably getting a lot of like mommy daughter.
He's using-
porn
Yeah, there was a
shit.
whole bunch of other Mommy
Yeah, a bunch
Dearest.
of
in
porn.
there.
He's using Jeeves.
Jeez.
Nicolas Cage played Smokey.
Smokey, you taking a shit over there? That's my favorite Smokey.
It's nothing personal, Rusty James. But nobody would follow you into a gang fight.
Nobody wants to be killed. I love that Nicolas Cage
People
never figured
killed.
out that you have to end the sentence going
Nobody
down.
wants to
with
be
the
Nicolas
sentence.
Cage was great
Everything,
in
everything Nicolas Cage says at the end of a sentence goes up. He's been doing that for 40 years
He didn't do it in Unbearable Weight, Massive
because he
Talent.
was not acting. He was just being Nicolas Cage in that.
So what about the other guy? What was that one? Nicky?
In what? Unbearable Weight?
The guy is him. Remember, it was him and then his
yeah,
himself.
right. Yeah.
I have the Mommy Dearest scores.
Oh,
Okay.
So you were right. 47% critics, 72%
Yeah,
audience.
that's what you
huge,
figured, yep.
huge. It's like one of those movies that everybody who's watched is like, oh, I love that movie. And then the critics are like, meh. They must have loved
Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford. I kept wanting to say Betty Davis. I knew it was the other one from Mommy or
Go on.
Baby Jane.
There it
Whatever
is.
happened to Baby Jane.
Whatever did happen to her.
She got hit by a car and she was paralyzed.
You didn't hear?
Oh, no.
Did you ever see that movie? Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
If it had Betty Davis in, I probably saw it.
Fucking great movie, man. We'll never get to that because that's like from the 50s. That's like way out of our
So you
range.
saw Burnt Offerings?
No, I didn't. That was
feel
one
we've
you have brought up
I was
before.
gonna say, I feel we've talked about
Yeah,
Burnt
it's my
Offerings
favorite.
on
It's my
this-
favorite
on-
horror
Oh,
movie.
man, that
and
movie,
you took it.
that
when
movie fucked me up as a child.
When we brought up
man.
horror movies, I said, "Oh yeah, you go first, Andy," and I had mine ready to go. Bunch to say about Burnt Offering. It was like during the Love Boat era.
Yes.
I think. Yeah,
Oh, that movie fucked me up.
that's
for years.
that's part of the LBCU,
LBC.
Love Boat Creative Universe.
I still get fucked up when I see chauffeurs just standing by a
That's
limo. I'm
that's
like,
a
"Ugh,
crazy.
ugh."
Ooh, that bothers me too. Ay, Dios mío.
Will you guys text that to me so I remember to watch it?
We should do a
Burnt
like a
Offerings?
watching of that
I'd watch
here
it, yeah.
and like discuss it afterwards.
Oh, that sounds
and maybe
good.
hold each other's
As a
penises
Patreon?
during the- As a Patreon, yeah. Yes.
Can we set up a Patreon?
When I said penises, I meant Patreon.
What if we got people might sign up for our Patreon? That's possible. What are we going to give away? We got to do an extra episode or something like that.
They can come on and watch it with us. They can if they live in the New Jersey tri-state area, which I don't know, is that Delaware, Pennsylvania, or New York?
That's what
Pennsylvania,
You have to
New York,
differentiate because
Connecticut.
we're in two tri-state.
I was gonna
We're
say-
in the Philadelphia, Delaware, New Jersey tri-state.
and we're in New York, Connecticut.
But you just mentioned city, Philadelphia. That's not a
well, Pennsylvania.
Tri-state,
Sorry,
yeah.
But no one from Pittsburgh is coming all the way out to New Jersey.
possibly,
No,
man.
Possibly.
We already invited Kevin when he's in the area to stop by and be on the podcast in person. That was
just he's Kevin. It's the southern tri-state, not the northern tri-state of New
It's
Jersey.
pretty much in the middle. We can hit both, but
Yeah,
we
'cause
do.
we wanna
do
get New York.
We
We
do
wanna
get the
get-
Philadelphia channels on our TV, which just sucks ass.
Yeah, if you get Philadelphia channels on your TV, you're in that.
But
Tri-state.
Jason, who lives 5 miles north of us, gets both. He gets both because I lived in Hamilton for years, and I got both.
He crests into Mercer.
I grew up in Mercer County, and I grew up with Philadelphia and New York channels. I'm telling you, nothing beats that.
Yeah.
Nothing beats that.
It's
You turn on
got
Sunday,
it all.
Sunday
I can't
football.
ask for. I don't ask for anything because I have everything.
Sunday football, it's the best. You get the Eagles and the
You got
Giants
like
and the
you
Jets.
can have 4 different games.
and I take that back.
on the
Can you
channel.
cut that? You get the Giants, and then you get the Jets and the Eagles also. I don't know why I led with the Eagles there. I don't know
But you
why.
can get up to 4 different games sometimes.
Yeah, but you guarantee to get those 3. You're guaranteed to get those 3 no matter if they're head to head.
Yep.
You get all 3 of those games.
I live less than a mile from if I growing up. Everyone on the other side got both channels,
Yeah.
but because I was half a mile maybe away,
So weird.
I only
so
got Philly.
weird.
Well, I grew up in Mercer County. I grew up in West Windsor, and then when I started dating Michelle, we lived in Hightstown, also Mercer County. We moved to Hamilton, also Mercer County. Grew up with that all, up until I was 38, and I moved to Columbus. And all of a sudden, I was like in a Pennsylvania.
Grew his
like,
first mullet?
It's just Philadelphia.
Started wearing Tom Brady hoodies.
Tom Brady.
Looks like a Tom Brady. It's all ripped up, right? Like Tom Brady.
at least
or
Belichick.
Bill Belichick. I didn't mean to. I'm getting like him now. I'm saying the wrong thing. I meant to say
I'm
Bill
so much
Belichick.
older than you too. You have no excuse.
I do.
oh, that.
Oh yeah, what's that?
What's that called? Mind rape.
Cookie Monster?
Cookie.
We were watching Ted last night, and it was like just on like regular
Sorry.
TV.
Oh, the movie Ted.
And when he's doing his like, it's called mind rape, and Marky Mark's like, I don't know. He's like, oh no, it's kind of mellow. He's like, it was a choice between this and like they're coming, and this is permanent. And that is the best scene in the movie because that's where he starts doing his like, he just starts rattling off all those names. Oh my god!
Did you try Nick Cage's top 4 yet?
Have we started talking about him yet? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did. Smokey top 4.
Nick Cage is top 4.
Yeah, because you said he talks like this.
Everything ends and it always goes up.
What's the one where he had a fire head and he rode a motorcycle?
Oh, Ghost Rider. But he
Ghost
won
Rider,
the
yeah.
Oscar.
That's not.
He won the Oscar for leaving Las Vegas.
That is on there. He made it.
And
I saw that one. That was good.
how about? I mean, like, is something stupid like Fast Times on there, or
Fast Times is not.
how about Incredible Weight and Massive Talent?
No.
National Treasure?
No.
Oh wow, I love those movies. The first one was great. The second one not so good. Damn, I should probably study.
He's been
these
in
before that.
10,000 movies.
He's been in
He's
so
been in a
many
lot.
movies.
Yeah. It's hard to remember him.
Oh, what's the one, the old one where they're raising a kid and
Oh, Raising Arizona.
Not in his top 4. Though.
Oh man,
good
but
movie though.
Are there any other Coen Brothers movies that he did? Is that the only one? Yeah, I guess that's the only one that he did. But
All right, you want me to start giving them?
yeah,
to you?
yeah, oh yeah.
Dude, I'm soaked in
I'm gonna
soju. I've spilled so much of this on myself.
What's wrong with you?
I don't
Are you
know.
sure it's not just pee-pee? Like,
Is it because you drank too much of it?
No,
Are
I
you
think it's these damn little cups.
why are
You're
you
not
drinking
supposed
out of that shit?
to drink
I could have
out
given you one of
these.
these big ass like bourbon.
Why aren't you drinking it out of the bottle if you wanted to drink the whole bottle anyway?
I know I should have, but on TV they drink it out of these little glasses.
Oh man,
Then get a glass.
I had one last week.
Is it
Andy
here?
offered you a glass.
Do you have to wash it?
You offered him a glass, didn't you?
I was wondering
Well, I'm
today.
done.
Actually, I was wondering today when I got my
finished
bourbon.
the bottle.
This was the last bourbon glass I had. I'm like, I have a bunch of these. Where the fuck are they? I see there's 3 over there. I was like, oh, I guess I need to do the dishes.
I'm going to start giving them to you, right? So next. Next, yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
one, no.
And then I'm going to give it Face Off
Oh yeah,
and The Rock.
Oh, love The Rock. Hate Face Off.
yeah.
Face Off's that Travolta. They switch faces and
That was terrible.
And they grow to equal size of the other guy when they change their faces and their accents change. And that is one of the shittier movies of the last 30 years. But what was the other one?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Oh, I really like The Rock. That's fun with Sean Connery and
Sean Connery.
who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy?
Chappelle.
No. God damn it! I'm bald.
Oh,
Ed
Malkovich.
Malkovich.
Yeah.
No, not Malkovich.
Oh no.
Not
Ed O'Neill.
Ed Harris.
Ed
Ed Harris.
Oh, from Apocalypse.
Great movie.
Whoop, whoop. Chris Penn played B.J. Jackson. He died in 2006, age 40,
He died.
enlarged heart.
You know
Yeah.
what's so funny? Like as this started, I'm like, he's dead, right? Like he died young.
Yeah.
He looked young
40?
in this.
40.
But he also looked fat already. I know he was like the fatter of the Penn brothers, but he already looked fat in this.
He was chubby in this, yeah.
And
He's been dead a long time.
Yeah, like
2006.
It was
Wow.
early. I mean, what you say it was 40? Yeah, that's way too young. Obviously,
Yeah, he would have been 57.
they just don't make it to that age anymore.
Do you know of any movies that he was in?
How about Wild Things? That was like the first thing that I ever really. He was starring in that. That was the Fast Times like sequel-ish kind of
Yeah,
movie.
no,
but no,
that's not-
Wild Things. Maybe it wasn't
Wild
called-
Times.
Maybe it was Wild Times. It was like a Fast Times.
Wild Things is the Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. It was not that. It was like a. It was like
Franco.
a.
Denise Richards and Neve Campbell make out.
That's not the one I was thinking about. There's a
Neve Campbell.
Chris-
That's who Kevin went to school with.
There's a Chris Penn
Right, yeah.
Fast Times adjacent movie.
I know what you're
It's
thinking of,
Wild.
yeah.
Maybe this is called Wild Things also. I don't know. It doesn't matter. That's not in his top 4. How about that one Quentin Tarantino movie, Reserve Dogs?
That is in there. Reservoir.
He's awesome in that, man.
Reservoir Dogs. DAWGS.
I might be out of Chris Penn movies.
Your black thing here is dangling. You want to push that in?
Dangle
I
this,
had to look
dude.
behind me. I was like, there's a black thing dangling in my ear.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you for holding my black thing.
All right, so you're giving up already?
I'm
Because I
giving
know
up.
you probably
Yeah,
have no
I definitely
idea, right?
have none. Yeah.
So he was in Shortcuts, and then he was also in True Romance,
Oh,
and Everybody's Got to Cut Loose. You gotta be
that's right.
footloose.
And I know he's in that, but I've also actually never seen Footloose.
Get off the Sunday shoes.
He was the big farmer boy.
Yeah, I knew he was in that,
Ooh-wee.
but I've never seen that. I was not a big fan of the dance movies of the 80s, like Flashdance, never saw it. Dirty Dancing, never saw it.
Wow.
Dirty Dancing, I saw. Flashdance, I saw.
I've never seen Dirty Dancing.
I've never seen any of those.
Larry Fishburne again. We've talked about him a few times this year, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've at least
Well,
talked
not
about it on
83,
Apocalypse Now.
I mean, but
He was in the that shoot 'em up movie. The guy got revenge.
Night Shift.
No.
What the hell are you talking about?
He was in that movie where they the old guy his girlfriend got killed or his daughter got
Is that
killed.
Nobody? Was he in Nobody with Bob Odenkirk?
No, it was something we did the show.
Oh, we did one.
Yeah. He had he would get dressed. He would go to a hotel and get dressed in different clothes.
Oh, Death Wish 2.
Death Wish 2, yeah.
Was Larry Fishburne in that? Oh,
Yeah,
he was one of the gang
laughing
guys,
guy,
right?
yeah.
Yes, he was in that. Oh, sorry.
You're right.
You're right.
And then he was just in
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. We
As a
talked
Oh,
about.
child.
that's right, yeah.
But are
He was 14 in Apocalypse.
are any of those movies in his top 4?
No. Remember, he had The Matrix, Matrix Reloaded, Mystic River, and Contagion.
Oh, he was in Outsiders?
He'll always be Furious Styles to me. I'm sure I said that before, but
Definitely Furious
in
Styles.
Boys in the Hood, he was great in that.
Up next, William Smith, the real owner of the name Will Smith.
Is that the guy that Chris Rock punched on stage?
No, this is the guy that played Patterson the cop.
Oh yeah, that was weird. That was a weird.
He had a
role.
beef with the motorcycle boy. He died in 2021. He was 88, undisclosed. Do you have anything for him? No. Oh, I thought I saw you leaning over. I didn't know what you were doing.
Oh no, I was seeing what other sound.
His top 4. I'm just going to give them to you any which way you can. Rich Man, Poor Man, Red Dawn, and Laredo.
The only question I'm going to ask is, what is he in Red Dawn?
I don't know.
I guess I can look that up.
Nah, you don't have to. Like Red Dawn's one of those kinds of
Let him do
ensemble.
it if he wants to
he's
do
he's
it,
maybe
I
he's
mean.
you know who he is? He is he's their father. He's the one that says avenge me. That's what I'm going to say. He's the guy who goes, avenge me. I hope that's who he is. Charlie Sheen and Patrick Stewart's dad.
So he's-
Patrick Stewart, Patrick Swayze's dad.
Good, that takes mine away again. Yeah.
it just says Mr. Mason.
What's Patrick
Not if you go to
Swayze's?
IMDb.
What Patrick Swayze's name in that?
Jed
Jed what?
doesn't have his last name.
I
Oh,
was
really? I
hoping you
hate
say
when he
Jed
only had the
Mason.
first name. Yeah. Glenn Withrow played Biff Wilcox, who looked like he pretty much killed Matt Dillon almost.
He
Right?
had a butcher's knife and sliced him in half, and then all he took
That
was
glass.
a
How
good
about the glass?
was it a glass that he cut him with? I thought he had the
was
knife
swinging
again.
the glass at the end. It was glass that sliced his chest.
Oh, I thought it was the
Right
knife
Oh.
that he had again. But he would. Matt Dillon was cut opened. His guts were hanging out of his body.
I have
and
in
they're
my
like,
notes Rusty James R.I.P. because he
Just take, all it takes is
he
a good night's
dies.
sleep.
He
And
comes out of his body, dies. He's dead there, right? You're thinking it's over.
He's floating around.
was that the scene where he was floating after he got stabbed? No, that was later. That was after he took
Yeah,
the beating from.
that was when he got beat up in the alley, right
by
there.
Bob
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Batman. That was Bob.
Oh,
from
wait a second.
Batman.
Which fight are we talking about?
Well, we started with the fight where he got stabbed, but
Okay.
then with the fight where he went down the alley and he got jumped by the
Flea.
Flea.
Guy
Flea's
looked
not
like
in this
Flea.
one.
That guy is Bob from Batman. That was Jack Nicholson's #1 guy.
Oh.
You're my #1 guy, Bob. That was Bob from Batman.
You never saw that one, right? That Batman.
I saw that
Oh,
back.
I thought you never saw it.
But that then he got pummeled. Like his face got destroyed, and then he's walking down the street, blood dripping off his face. The wound on his side has now reopened. He's got blood, and Larry Fishburne's walking behind him with a nice suit. I'm like, why is Larry Fishburne always dressed so nice? Like they went to that Rumble, the original Rumble, and he's dressed.
But how about
with
when
a tie and
he
a hat.
climbed down he climbed down from
the
when they were
pole,
on- yeah.
the outside.
And he was in dress shoes and pants.
Who was he to everybody? Like, why was he
Just hanging out
there?
with-
He
was
was
in
like
the
the
gang.
guy in the neighborhood. He was like he knew what was going on. He
That was one of the questions I had when I was first watching this movie. I'm like, this is taking place in the 60s, and
It
like
felt
they're,
like it.
they're integrated like with their gangs and stuff like that. I was like, that seems really odd that they would not have like race specific gangs of that era, because that's, West Side Story. This felt West Side. Michelle kept saying, I feel like they're about to like start dancing. Like it just felt like they were just about to start singing. Every time they were like, it's time to rumble. When you're a jet all the way from your first cigarette.
Well, you did
to
have
your
Tom
last dying
Waits
day.
in this,
Yeah, Tom Waits was wasted in this
He was
because
Benny.
The older you get, you say, Jesus, how much I got? I got 35 summers left.
I like that line.
there was one scene where Tom Waits was like
35
talking.
summers.
and
Think about it.
he just had like a monologue, and the menu was flipping behind him. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, this needs to be more of this movie. It needs to keep happening. But that
I
was
just
the
want-
only
I just
time
wanted- I just wanted more Tom Waits.
He was
Yeah.
he was the star of this movie. And
You
he
ever
looked
listen
really-
to Tom Waits?
I
got a
like
few-
Tom Waits.
got a
I like
few-
Tom Waits.
I got a few albums. Great stuff, man.
I like Tom Waits, and he's one of those guys that like pops up and stuff, and you're like, nice that he's doing this. Like he was
Well, like when he popped up in
Renfield?
Seven Psychopaths.
Well, I
or
was
the-
gonna say he was in,
the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
He was in the Ballad
Ballad
of
of
Buster.
Buster
He was the best
Scruggs,
part of the
that's
Ballad
right.
of Buster Scruggs. He was like the
He's
gold,
the gold digger, yeah,
the
the gold miner.
panner, the
Yeah.
panner. He was great in that, and he was
Gold
in
digger.
and he was Renfield in the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula.
Wow,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess Francis Ford Coppola liked him in this.
Speaking
and
of Renfield,
Francis
Nicolas Cage is going to be playing him in an upcoming movie.
Nicolas Cage is going to be playing Dracula.
Oh, he's playing Dracula.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah. The
But
kid,
Renfield is
Renfield's the kid from The Menu.
Oh right, yes. Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult.
I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen
Menu's
The Menu
good.
yet?
It's on
my
HBO.
list.
Yeah, but because he's watching other stuff, I understand.
Yeah.
Totally
But yeah,
understand.
Tom Waits is like one of those he's like one of those guys where people are like, oh, I really like him, and they're like, what do you know him from? And they're like, I have no idea. Like he's just
You're
so
Shortcuts?
cool, man.
Is that it? Yeah, Shortcuts. That's
He's
what
just
I know him from.
so cool. But like, yeah, his music. I know someone described his voice as like, burnt leather, like stretched over
Gravelly.
like 10 street roads and driven over and burned and stuff. Because his voice is just like this all the time. He sounded like Oklahoma.
Yeah.
When I hear Oklahoma, Tom Waits' voice is not. It's not. Fuck you, man. Fuck you, man. Or Rusty James, man. You gotta like get your stuff together, man. The accents in this were fucking atrocious.
Sophia Coppola, however you want to say that.
There's only one way to say it, man. You're very hung up on this.
Patty's sister, also Domino.
She was listed in the credits and introducing Domino as Patty's sister. I'm like, I guess Francis Ford didn't want to create a what do they call those girls now? The family members that get famous off their family.
Yeah. Nepo babies.
Nepo babies.
Yeah,
like,
because he also called his other kid Giancarlo. He called Gio.
what was he in this?
He played cousin James.
Was that one of the gang guys? Like, I don't know. I don't know who he was. Sophia Coppola, I know. Even as a 14-year-old in this, I was like, oh, that's Sophia Coppola. I know her from, I guess, Godfather 3 and
Godfather 3,
famous
The
director.
Beguiled, The Virgin Suicides, and Lost in Translation.
And
Those
she
are what I
directed
know her from.
those,
Yep.
like Lost in Translation and Virgin
Yeah,
Suicides.
I only know of her as a director.
Yeah, but she was Mary Corleone in Godfather 3.
Mary.
The Winona Ryder part. That
Just
she
Mary.
quit. Mary.
I forgot to say Biff Wilcox. He's
Oh, yeah.
also in The Outsiders.
Oh, yes. Is he a Soch? He looked like a Soch.
Yeah, I think so. And
Was he in anything else? Did we just yada yada over that guy?
I wasn't going to give it because I didn't. That's all we really know from that Rumblefish, The Mooring, and The Last Champion. But Giancarlo, cousin James,
Giancarlo Esposito?
that's the other Coppola kid.
Oh, okay.
He died in 1986, 22 in a
Was he the
boating
one that
accident.
drowned? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. I think we talked about that during Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, his top four was The Outsiders, Rumblefish, Apocalypse Now, and The Cotton Club.
So all of his dad's
Yeah, all
movies.
his dad's movies. But
And then that boat.
yeah, he died in a boating accident, 22. But now I think Stuart Copeland wasn't in the movie, but he was.
What about Steve?
Steve? We already talked about him.
We did, Steve, dude.
Yeah,
Oh, we did. I didn't do his.
Do something!
you could have added that in later,
Do something!
right? In
He won't, but he could.
That's a lot of work.
I listened to one of our podcasts recently where you're like, I'll just cut that out. And instead of cutting it out, you just played a gigantic over. I'm like, I think it would have been better if you just cut
I
this
thought
out.
something happened when I heard that.
Because I was mentioning people by name, and you're like, oh, cut.
And then I mentioned him by name.
But instead of cutting it, you just played this gigantic foghorn over it. I was like, I think it would have been better if this was just cut out.
I can just highlight it and change it to a tone. It's so much easier than trying to get a good cut point.
I was like, is that...
But I didn't have any more of the cast. But Andy wanted to talk about Stuart Copeland.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember when the police were like in their breaking up phase and Stuart Copeland came. This was like synchronicity era police. And they were like, he's going to start doing
as you hear
sound-
this.
That is so his
Yeah,
his
definitely
beat.
this part.
But he was like, I'm going to start doing soundtracks. Like, that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm like, good luck with that, dude. And I think I saw Rumblefish like 2 weeks later, and the credits right there, Stuart Copeland. I'm like, no fucking way. I'm like, I just heard him say he was going to do that, and he's doing it. I thought that was really
You see
cool.
these guys do a lot of Trent Reznor
Oh,
does
Trent
it
Reznor's
now.
like winning Oscars and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, you see a lot of these.
this music was not that. This song's fine. This song's fine, but
Danny
this is-
Elfman.
This is the closing credits song, right?
Wingo Boingo and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
The
yeah.
Simpsons. I mean,
This is the closing credits song, right?
Yeah.
But like the music in the actual
There were
movie,
kind of
I
like
did not-
variations of this. There were.
didn't sound. It wasn't catching me ever. I think there's one other song where they were playing it during the movie, and I'm like, oh, I hear Stuart Copeland's drums in this movie, but whatever. Good for him. Good for Stuart Copeland, man. I always liked him a lot. He was always my favorite police.
Him and Sting used to come to fisticuffs, man. That seems
That's so awesome that Stuart Copeland was big enough to be like, this guy is a megastar. I'm gonna fuck him up.
he just couldn't. It shows how much Sting must be that much of
my
an
God.
asshole, man.
It must have been impossible to work with him. And I love the police and I love Sting, but he must have been impossible to work with. His fucking head. He must have had to turn like sideways to get through the door. And I fucked my wife for 12 hours using whatever his tantric sex.
Yeah. Like
Without touching her.
Does everything have to be awesome in your life, dude? Like, can you have like ball cancer or something like that,
do you
please?
want 12 hours of that though? I mean,
No,
come on.
I want like, listen, 17 seconds is my all-time record, so I would have taken 3 minutes, but honestly, does she really need all that? She's probably like reading a book. Can I get around you? Leno's on.
You're watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
the extended cut, and Sting's still fucking. You'd be like, dude, it was great like 7 hours ago, man. Like enough already.
By then you're like, are you done yet, mate?
Ah.
Are you done yet, mate?
Oh man, yeah. But
The
Stuart
sound
Copeland, man,
technicians
loved him.
on this film had a hard time hearing Mickey Rourke's dialogue on the set, often asking him to speak louder.
I always wonder about that when I'm watching a movie where the guy's talking like.
That's why they called this
I'm like-
movie on the set. This movie they would call it Mumble
I was just gonna say, is it Mumble something? Mumble Fist. I always thought when I'm seeing a movie with a guy doing that, I'm like, they definitely have to come do what's that called when you do it at the ADR or AR or whatever you do when you record after the fact and you come back in. It's like they're definitely having Mickey Rourke come back for that because no one's hearing him talking like this the whole time. Like,
I hate that when
speak up.
when it's so obvious that it's like when it's like the person's talking from the side and you could tell that their mouth's not even moving.
Oh, yeah,
but then you hear their words.
When I was doing the sound bites and I look at the graphical representation of them talking, I could always tell Mickey Rourke because
It just dropped.
yeah, it would be like, "Mwah."
Mickey Rourke remembers that he approached his character as an actor who no longer finds his work interesting. So I thought that was funny. He seemed like he did not want to be there.
Yeah. You know what? He was the best actor of the main cast because it was a bunch of shitty actors in this.
I will say the best acting is him playing dead. He looked dead with his eyes kind of half open and just like with that look on his face. He looked dead.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson turned down the role of father. He said the
A
script.
father?
He said the script was bad. Yeah. Dennis Hopper role.
It was. Just so, in case don't be shocked at my score because the script was terrible.
You'll be surprised because Francis Ford thinks this movie's in his top 5.
What?
It's in his top 5 favorite films.
Oh my God. What? But he's had amazing films, and then this one is just dog crap.
I mean, if you're talking about like Godfather 1 and 2 and Apocalypse Now, like this, well, I guess you could still have 2 more movies in your top 5.
Mickey Rourke said in an interview that the original cut of this movie was 5 hours.
Damn.
So I'm curious how much of that was like, motherfucker.
Man, I can't do it on demand.
I thought he had it. I thought he had it. I thought it was just there, you know? Like I could pull a motorcycle, boy, just like anything.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Patty. Man.
I didn't do nothing, man.
One of the more interesting things about this movie was like, especially the scene where like he was getting Patty, the fuck you scene, the fuck you Patty, and you're an asshole and all that. Like, is Tulsa, Oklahoma on fire? Like they were just smoke, but like
Oh
all
yeah, it
the
was like
scene-
coming out of like steam.
It was
like,
just
coming
all
up.
over the
Yeah.
place. I was like, why
And,
is
like
it
cars
like
were
that?
coming out of it? All of a sudden, you just saw a car
Like
there.
that,
It was like,
she gets off the bus and the bus drives away, and I just thought it was the bus exhaust. And Michelle's like, "Why is everything so smoky?" I'm like, "Well, the bus just drove away." Michelle's like, "The bus like turned 2 minutes ago." I'm like, "I don't know what's going on. I guess
It was
They
very
like walked
strange.
into the smoke, and there's that one. You could tell the black smoke was like fire on the ground, but that white smoke.
there was
where the
black
hell was
smoke
the
off
white
to the side,
smoke
yes.
coming from?
yeah, that was strange.
I just kept thinking about Madeline Kahn and Young Frankenstein. I was just what? When the train takes off.
I wanted to bring this up. I'm sorry, but I saw that on IMDb, the name Rusty James is said at least 50 times in the movie.
We tried it, like,
And that's
early on, we tried to keep
approximately-
count.
That's approximately once every 2 minutes.
Very early on in this movie, we realized that Rusty James and man were going to be said a lot in this movie. Michelle was trying to keep count, but you say that, and then you order dinner, and you have a couple drinks, and all of a sudden, I'm like, how many times was Rusty James said? And she's like, oh, more than 10. I'm like, yeah. That's not a good number.
You said the number was going to shock us.
Well, because she was going to keep track, and then she wasn't
Then
keeping
it fell
track.
through.
But it was said at least 50 times. I find that low.
Yeah, I
and
think
man,
that's low.
he ended every sentence with man.
Yeah.
Every sentence. Even when he was talking to Diane
Yeah.
Lane, he was like saying man.
Yeah,
which
he called
I know,
her man a
I know
lot.
people, friend of the show, Dan says man at every, he calls girls, hey man, what's up? So it's like, that's common.
Is that the
for a
Dan
lot of-
that never comes on?
Yeah, he'll never hear this, so it doesn't matter. But
No, he listens. He gives us critiques.
I know. I wanted to throw him off when he's listening to this and be like, don't bring me up again. Keep your name out my damn mouth.
I also read that Tom Cruise wanted to be in any movie, and he was offered this movie, Rumblefish.
So he was offered
He was
this
offered to
movie.
be in Rumblefish, and he was going to be in Rumblefish with Matt Dillon until he took the lead in a different movie.
Risky business.
I guess.
The movie's Risky Business.
So this was filmed after Outsiders. So I guess all those guys were up and comers, and they were probably asking Francis Ford Coppola.
How do you say that?
Coppola. They were asking.
Kapala?
They were asking to be in movies and stuff like that. That makes sense. That whatever you're doing next, Francie.
It'll be like,
Francie.
Frank?
yeah, we're just going to change your name. Just be the same
Frankie.
guy.
It's Frankie.
Well, Matt Dillon's just like, I can do this, man. Whatever you need me to do, man.
It says this is the only S.E. Hinton novel adaptation that doesn't include Emilio Estevez.
Besides Outsiders? What
I don't know. I was going to ask you if you knew of any
No,
other.
I don't. I didn't know.
Is she a famous? Oh, she must be.
These
a
two
famous
movies,
writer, right?
Rumblefish and Outsiders, are the only two I really know by her.
Who, CS?
Yeah, and she's still alive, but like, I don't know if she's done anything else. These were written in like the 60s, maybe the early 70s.
I know she was alive. Not
She's still
too
alive.
long- She's still alive. I was going to say I knew not too long ago, but I didn't want to say definitely after these past 3 years. Don't count, and then things turn into 9.
I don't think
years
she
ago.
died during the COVID era. She didn't mysteriously contract COVID and
Tex, another Matt Dillon movie.
die.
TEX.
TEX, yeah. No, that's from '82.
Wow.
That was
We didn't
then.
do
This
that,
is
huh?
now. Amelia Estevez.
That was then. This is now. Wasn't that a Monkey song? A Monkey's like 80s song? That was then. This is now?
That was then. and
Like a
this is
non-Michael
now.
Ned Smith.
I think
like
you're right.
Mickey-
Yeah.
Monkey song.
It says this was the third S.E. Hinton movie adaptation starring Matt Dillon. So there was 2 before this.
I guess that Tex movie came out
Tex,
before
yeah.
this. Yeah.
And Outsiders. Was he in Outsiders?
The Outsiders is after this, right?
Yes, he's in fucking Outsiders, dude. He's the one of the stars.
Oh wait, Outsiders is before this. That's right.
I know. I feel like I thought this came out before Outsiders, but I guess that's just because we're doing it before Outsiders. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why we're doing it this early. You picked it for this early.
I put it in based on the release date, I thought, but now I'm going to go back and look and say like, oh no, sorry, it's October because you said it was October already.
Oh, she wrote Outsiders at age 15.
Oh yeah, she wrote that young. Yeah.
Mickey Rourke never looked like he knew how to actually hold a cigarette while smoking. Every time he had it, and I know this is a audio podcast, so it's really tough to describe this, but you hold a cigarette a certain way when you smoke it. But he was holding it like a joint all the time. He had his
With his thumb.
and his pointer
Yeah.
finger like on it, and I'm like, that's not how you smoke a cigarette. That's not. No one who's ever in the history of smoking cigarettes ever held a cigarette like that. And every time they showed him, he was holding it like
Yeah,
that. I'm
that's
like,
what they're
does
trying
he
to get
not
that-
know how to smoke a cigarette? Like he might not be a smoker, which is fine, but they should at least tell an actor how to hold a cigarette. Like you hold it between the pointer and the middle finger. You hold it like that. You hold a cigarette like that. You don't hold it like this, like a roach clip. I was like, does he think he's got a joint in his hand or something like that? Because he never ever looked natural holding that cigarette. And he had a cigarette in his hand a lot of the movie. There's a lot of smoke in this movie.
He's also 31 in this movie. You'd think he would have Even fake smoking.
It was really weird how, like, you know, the basis of this entire movie was Rusty James being envious of his brother, and, you know, he's been gone, I guess, for a long time.
I'm gonna look like him.
And that was so weird that he kept wanting to look like, you're never gonna look like you don't look like him now.
You don't know. I'm gonna look like him. You don't know that.
But they never really established like what he did, except he had a gang, and I guess they got in a bunch of fights and won. But
that cop didn't like him for some reason too.
It was really weird how they just kind of, like, all of a sudden Mickey Rourke showed back up in town again for no reason. He was just there at the right time when the fight was going on, and I don't know. They were just kind of like they built him up to be this like legend, but based on nothing.
He was the president too, remember? Because he said being president was fun at first, but got boring.
President of the club. Is that elected?
President of the gang.
Is that duly elected?
Yeah, to become president of the gang.
No fake elections.
Rusty would never become president, according to Smokey. Smokey said he would never become.
No one would follow him because they don't want to die.
It's so funny. So many of my notes are like, when's this movie taking place? Because I have the Pac-Man sounds. They go when he's at the drugstore. There's like Glamour and 17 magazine. I'm like, those are like not 60s magazines. What's happening? I was really thinking this movie was taking place in the 60s, and they were just not. They just didn't give a shit that like everything else looked 80s, like the magazines and the cars, and the motorcycles and stuff like that. It was really weird because I guess just like, why is it in black and white? Like the black and white was unnecessary. I thought I get it. Mickey Rourke was fucking like colorblind, but he's not the star of the movie.
I thought that if we saw this movie through Rusty, not through.
It was strange that was the choice they made. And I couldn't see anything. I looked up stuff like, why is this in black and white? And there's nothing in this.
When Rusty James said, he says, I never would have been able to think of something like that when he was talking. Like he said, who did he say? He said that to Steve, I think. He's like, why are you so smart like that? He's like, I never would have been able to think of something like that.
Yeah, Rusty James was not smart.
And
motorcycle, how smart is Motorcycle Boy? He just wanted to put those fish in the freaking river.
Yeah. He wanted to go to the ocean, and it was in Oklahoma. I was like, dude, all pipes lead to the ocean. I know if movies have taught us nothing, and Finding Nemo has taught us so much, all pipes lead to the ocean. So if he took those fish and threw them down that sewer line that he was going for, I guess he was going for that little shitty river there. Was that what river in Oklahoma leads to the ocean? Is that the Rio Grande? Does that go all the way up to Oklahoma? I honestly don't know. Like, what river is in Oklahoma that's leading to the ocean?
Colorado doesn't stretch that way.
There is a lot of land between Oklahoma and any body of water.
Mississippi doesn't hit that, right?
Oh, it's like one of those.
Well, every river goes to the ocean.
Yeah, but after a long amount of time,
you have
and not necessarily they might
just
die before they get there. You know, it's like, especially if they're samurai fish. Samurai fish, is that what they call them?
Siamese
fish. Although I don't think that's correct, because now they're called betta fish. Yeah, right. But
weren't they Japanese fighting fish or something?
I thought that's why I was like Siamese.
Siamese was what they used to be called.
Because were they from Siam? I guess
China.
Isn't that Siam?
I think Vietnam is Siam, isn't it?
Oh, then why do they call them Siamese?
Because they're from Vietnam.
Are they?
I think they said China.
I don't know. They live in like mud puddles and stuff like that.
We are so Asian ignorant. It's amazing. Like,
we have so many Indian
China
people,
and Vietnam the same
followers.
thing? Like, aren't they the same?
I'm going to do the
South Korea and like Afghanistan are both Asia, and we're like, oh yeah, that's the same. And that's not our fault. That is our PC world that we live in now. Like, everybody's just Asian. It's like 3/4 of the world's population. The two biggest population countries in the world are Asian, and we're just supposed to say, oh, he's Asian. Yeah. That can you narrow it down to under 1 billion people? Just like, what kind of Asian are we talking about?
Back to your smoke thing. It's in nearly every scene in the movie, there is a smoke from a trash can, manhole, ashtray, cigarette, etc.
I think that's got to be, that has to be something to do with the fact that it was in black and white, and it just like stands out in black and white. Like, if it was color, no one's going to notice a smoke scene or something like that. I don't know. The black and white was distracting.
They say his motorcycle was a 1981 Kawasaki. It was based on a 1981 Kawasaki. I don't know if that has anything to do with the date of the movie, like the timing of the movie, but it was in 81. So.
Yeah. They weren't trying to post date it or.
Yeah.
So this movie was after Outsiders, but it felt very pre-Outsiders. Like Biff, that was the bad guy. The one at the beginning.
Biff.
Like his gang,
different Biff. I'm sorry.
his gang was so well dressed. They all had ties. They all showed up for that Rumble looking like fresh.
Again, that makes you
They were
think
the
of West Side
Socs.
Story. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say they're the Socs, but yeah, the Jets and the Sharks. But they look so well dressed. I was like, why would you have to wear a tie to a Rumble? That's something else to grab onto. Yeah. Get that tie right off there. You know, a tank top like Matt Dillon was wearing throughout this entire movie is great Rumble attire because there's less to grab onto.
I have a question for you.
Oh, I was going to say, there's a Biff in My Tutor too, right?
Was there a Biff?
A boyfriend? The boyfriend's name is
her
Biff.
boyfriend was Biff.
There's lots of Biffs in the 80s.
I guess the 80s were big on Biff. Yeah. Do you know any Biffs? Have you ever met a Biff in the outside world,
I don't
in the real
think so.
world? Never met a Biff.
Never.
Never met a Biff.
Didn't Biff want to be a buff?
Someone had a question. Oh, was you,
Yeah,
you
I had a question for you. What 1980s horror superstar female actress was in both this movie and The Outsiders, but had both of her scenes cut? in
Jamie Lee
both
Curtis.
movies?
I know the answer to this. I can't answer this. I'm sorry.
Both movies.
It's Nancy Lampenkamp from
Heather Langenkamp.
Heather Lampenkamp from
Oh, I don't
Nightmare on
know
Elm
who that
Street.
is.
How'd you know it?
I remember hearing about this back in the old days. I think like when I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they were like, she was in Outsiders. I'm like, she was? And then they're like, oh, but her scene got cut.
Yeah.
And she was in this and cut also, huh? Wow. So you're in the first two movies of your life, Francis Ford Coppola movies. You're all excited, and then you get cut. And then they're like, hey, we got this horror movie that, listen, at the time, no one knows it's going to be a franchise starter. Just like, hey, yeah, do this crappy horror movie. Okay. Some burnt guy's going to try to get you in your sleep. I guess this is the way my career is going. And honestly, that's the way her career went because what the fuck else has she done?
Does she show up at the conventions?
She probably does. She was in future Nightmare on Elm Street movies also.
Oh, she didn't get killed.
She was the last girl of the first one.
Final girl.
Final.
This is one of 4 films that Diane Lane did by Francis Ford. The other 3, you got The Outsiders, obviously, but what are the other 2?
Sorry, what was the question? I wasn't paying attention. I was zoned out there.
This is Diane Lane did 4 movies with Frank. This
Outsiders,
another
Cotton Club.
2. Cotton Club, yes.
Freshman? Oh, he wasn't that.
Nope. Jack, 1996.
Is that the Robin Williams one? With
Yep.
Robin Williams is like a kid.
I think so, yeah. I never saw it.
It's amazing. I mean, listen, all directors like lose it, but Francis Ford Coppola just kept losing it. Like he just kept fucking up and fucking up. It was like I did the best movie. The movie everybody says is the greatest movie of all time as my first movie, and then as my second movie, I'll do a sequel to that, and people will say that's the best movie of all time.
Do you think?
And then, and listen, I'm not saying that this is shitty or Apocalypse Now or any of those movies are not great, but like then it was just like garbage and then garbage and I'm going to keep doing it. And then, hey, guess what? Remember those 2 movies you made and they both won Best Picture and blah, blah, blah. Do a sequel to that. Got it. Garbage. And then by then it was just
Do you
like,
think
this
Lucas
guy.
and Spielberg got to be behind his back like this guy again? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, George Lucas has no room to talk, but
I was just
Spielberg,
trying to think of 2 guys.
Spielberg on the other hand, and Brian De Palma also is in their crew and stuff like that.
trying
And
to
I
think
know,
of-
listen, I'm sure Francis Ford, I mean, I liked the Dracula movie. I thought that was fun, but man, he really just was just like, I'm going to keep trying and not hitting out of the park. It sucks when your first couple movies are grand slams and then everything after that is a strikeout swing and you're like, Apocalypse Now, also awesome. I want to disparage that, but I do not want to disparage that.
I did not know
not
that.
the Redux version, by the way, the original 2 hour.
Oh, the Redux version.
The original hour and 10-minute one.
It just made me think like I can never watch that again. I can't.
No,
man.
but I'm okay that I watched it.
I'm glad
And
I
next
watched
ti-
it, but I'm done.
And when I watch Apocalypse Now in like 20 years with my grandson, I'm like,
Don't
hey,
ever
let
show me
Pop
that.
show you some like classics. I'm going to show him the 2.5 hour movie. And when it skips over that French plantation scene, I'll be like,
No,
I know there's something with the French plantation, but I'm not going to watch it right now.
put that on, and you'll probably fall asleep during it anyway. So that'd be a perfect time for you to fall asleep, and then
Pop
40
will
minutes.
definitely be falling asleep a lot. I know I'm the falling asleep grandpa. Like, oh, I'll watch him. How did he do? Oh shit, is he alive? Like, where is he?
They're like, there's a 6-pack missing.
Danny Jr. setting the deck on fire. Like, whoa. What? You named your kid Danny Jr.? What the fuck's going on here?
Do you want to get some scores going now, or do you have any more notes? I mean,
I think one of the only other things I have at one point, I don't even remember which character said that. I just wrote it down as soon as they said it. I'm like, old. He's old. 25 or something. I was like, ooh, that hurt. That hurt bad.
that's when I looked up the age because he said,
and these guys are all probably like 30 already, but
because Mickey Rourke was playing 21 in the show. Steve thought he looked 25, and he was really 31.
oh, so it was Steve that thought he looked 25. I guess. Okay, yeah.
I liked when at the end when all the people started showing up when the motorcycle boy.
I actually have did they call the press?
It was so weird
Because they had cameras there. I'm like, he was dead for like 6 seconds.
There was another biker was like, "Get your fucking cameras out of here!"
I guess that's why I put the press down. I'm like, what's going on here?
But they were, the press was there. There was all kinds of people just pulling up. What's going on? And people were parking and getting out of their cars and walking up to it.
Like in general with this movie, like the ending of this was so he got killed for stealing fish out of a pet store. Like I was just like, that's how this guy's going out. Motorcycle boy is going out this way. I'm like, what a punk ass way to fucking go out.
And how about when Rusty James and the cop let him go? He's like, let him go.
Let him go. I already killed his brother. Let him go. I was really disappointed that that's how he went.
It seemed like the ending just took a shit.
Yeah, it was really just like we got to end this. And I mean, he didn't need to get killed for sure, but it just felt like they were like,
you're going to like The Outsiders better.
He's got to learn a lesson. He's got to learn a lesson.
Right?
Let's kill him.
Like The Outsiders better, right?
Oh, I mean, Outsiders is a great movie this cast was good. The Outsiders
wait till
cast
you get to
is
that cast.
The Outsiders cast is like a who's who of who's coming. Like
we'll talk
every
about,
one of them
we'll
is going to be
that after we get off.
Yeah, every one of them is going to be.
Andy's gonna
I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy.
Andy's going to break down his score for us
for this movie. Score
yours and Michelle's.
Well, Michelle gave it a 60 and said it's only better than My Tutor because of the cast. Like she did not like this movie, and she said I saw this back in the day and I enjoyed it. She's like, I am not enjoying this. She's like, first of all, we had it, we always watch anything.
I agree with her. I thought this was better than it was.
We always watch anything now with subtitles, and she's like, I don't even know what they're talking about half the time. She's like, I don't know what they're saying. And we're reading what they're saying, and she said, "What's going? What are they talking about?" Like I don't even know. So she gave it a 60. I gave it just a fraction better. I gave it a 65. Usually, the way I recommend this is saying watch it and you'll enjoy it, or don't. I can't say I would not recommend this. I would not say to watch this movie. I have fond memories of it, and then they were kind of dashed last night when I watched this, and I would say not to watch this. It's not. The Outsiders will be so much better, and it's the same cast and Francis Ford Coppola, and it's in color, and C.S. Hinton or C.S. Lewis or C. Thomas Howell, or it's all those things.
That's a nice pull.
And
I like to see Thomas Howell. That's good.
I sobered up. 65. It's okay. It's not good.
I'm gonna just piggyback off it out because I gave it a 60.
Okay.
So I'm right in the same area with you guys. I also thought this movie was better for some reason before watching this. And when I watched it, I was just like, I started to get bored. I was glad it was only about an hour and 35 minutes.
Short, very short.
Which was perfect because I was afraid that it was going to be too long at first. I was like, oh no, I hope it's not, 2.5 hours.
When I was putting this list together, I was like, ooh, Rumblefish. I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, Rumblefish. And then I watched it last night and I was like, why was I excited about watching this? I really was.
When I put my post last week about My Tutor, I said the movies are going to get better, a lot better. And I was saying that because I was excited because of Rumblefish.
Yeah. Well, it's better than My Tutor, but not so much better.
What do we have for next week?
I think we're going to do Outsiders next week.
Okay.
I think we're just going to back to back.
Okay, that's fine by me.
We're back to back Hinton and Coppola and Dylan.
I think that's streaming actually too.
It's on HBO Max, I think.
One of them, yeah. But yeah, 60. I don't need to watch this ever again. Just talk with my little whisper now with my motorcycle boy.
You're gonna be Motorcycle Boy from now on.
Motorcycle Boy reigns.
I'll be Rusty James.
That's
I'm going to keep talking like this, man. Brian, your family, how many people watched it in your household?
Just me and Christine.
Oh, okay.
And Christine, like you guys, was excited to watch it.
She told me on Friday. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to watch that with Brian tonight."
Yeah,
She
because
walked
you-
out after an hour and,
Okay.
and came back for the ending, and her score is a 40.
Oh, okay.
40.
That's okay, especially if we're skipping out on some of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think your score is going to be as high as that.
No, mine's a
don't think
little
so,
high. Mine's 45.
45. I thought you were going to be lower.
No, I mean, just because, like you said, the cast.
Yeah, the pedigree of this movie is like huge, and I think there's definitely nostalgia vibes watching this. But
Christine's biggest complaint was the script. She said that the acting was terrible, but she,
But you don't
but
know
she
what-
thinks that
There's
it's
nothing
because
being
of the
talked
script.
about. There's nothing really going on.
Yeah, and
There's no-
there was no story. It
you know
was-
what?
That big fight?
Matt Dennis Hopper's in, so we didn't even talk about it because his plot in this is just non-existent. There's like
He's
two
just a
scenes with
drunk
them.
laying in the bed.
Yeah,
in
the
that
bed
one
scene, and then the scene where at the bar where
sweating.
he's just
He's
like
soaking wet in that
Everybody
bar,
was
right?
sweating.
And
Yeah, it
when
was
they met him
disgusting.
at the bar, and he's just like smoking the cigar and
He was
sweating, drinking.
dripping.
I'm like, who wants to? Like, listen,
That did not
I
look
am
fun.
a big, fat, sweaty drunk. I don't want to sit at a bar by myself, just like staring at the wall, drinking. Like that looks like so little fun. Like I want at least one other big, fat,
like, at
sweaty
least
drunk across from me, to
And at
talk
least have
to.
the air conditioning working in wherever you're at.
I don't
you
think,
know what I mean?
I don't think Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 60s, 70s, 80s had AC. I don't know. All of our listeners from Oklahoma, I'm sorry, but
What
please
if-
tell
so
us.
we're doing Outsiders
when did
next
you get
week,
air
people,
conditioning?
right?
Yes.
Outsiders next week.
Brian, you have any final thoughts? I kind of stomped all over your review, I know, but I do
No, I just thought this was a terrible movie.
And this was your first time watching.
I thought I had seen it, but nothing was familiar when I was watching this.
I had that same kind of vibe. Why? I know I saw this in the theater, and I was like watching it, going like, but I think I never saw it again. So I guess it didn't make that much of an impression with me that I had to see it when it came on video or anything like that. I don't know, but I don't know. It was not as good as I remember. And what was the? Do you know the like the Rotten Tomato score on this?
Yeah,
like,
I have it right
okay.
here. Critics give it a 75 and audience gives it an 80.
That's
I
too
don't
high.
And I
understand
think it's
that.
because of who is in it
Yeah.
and who directed it, and people give him the benefit of the doubt.
I wonder, like those critic scores. I wonder how many of them are of the time, because we're talking about a guy that has now directed Godfather 1 and 2 and Apocalypse Now, and they're just like, well, this is at least I'm walking into this movie as a 90, and then you watch it and you're like, I'll give it an 80, but maybe it's a 70 or a 60.
Yeah, right? I mean,
I feel like
this was a terrible movie.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not fun to watch. It wasn't like there
I
wasn't-
think that's really high for the audience, though.
yeah.
80
Oh
seems
yeah,
really
yeah. Too
high.
much. Too high.
They had to have been high.
They might have been high.
But
handing out gummies. Oh, not in '83. They weren't handing.
look
out
for us
gummies.
next week on Outsiders and everywhere else. Spreaker, download us.
We'll finally get good
Rate.
next week. '83.
The movies get better, I
Outsiders.
promise. Rate, subscribe, do all those fun things. It's the Jazoo on Instagram, Jazoo74 on Twitter. It's the exciting and new podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm hitting out of the park this time. I am Andy, AE Gonzo 1970 on Instagram, AE Gonzo 1 on Twitter.
And I'm Brian, Papa Bad Kitty.
I had to think about that one. I was like, I'm gonna fuck it up again.
Oh, I got some good news for you, Andy.
Did you get a vagina?